Welcome back, it's me, Lou. I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review. Today from McFarlane Toys in their DC Multiverse line, we are featuring the McFarlane Collector Edition Batman. But as you notice, there's two very unusual things about this figure. For one, it's the Platinum Edition, which explains its very black and white color scheme. And this is also the Batman that's the Bat-Manga version. Okay, so this is an action figure that I honestly came in very naive about. I don't always keep up to date with every McFarlane figure that's released. I mostly just rely on their Instagram, and I'm not on Instagram as much as I used to be. So this figure kind of caught me by surprise when I saw it at my local Target the other day. And today is August 7th, 2024. It was very eye-catching, and I did see the normal version of this figure. And the reason why I opted for the Platinum isn't because it's the chase, but more so because of the theme of the character. So this is a very... so like I said, this is the Bat-Manga version. And if you're unfamiliar with the term manga, manga is essentially Japanese comics. Japanese comic books are traditionally mostly black and white. And the art style is, it's kind of different than what you expect from when compared to like a Western American comic. So the cool thing about this is that I'm actually a fan of manga. I've read manga throughout my entire life, so I'm very used to the black and white art style. So the reason why I opted to choose the Platinum editions because I kind of found it very novel that this reflects the manga-esque version of Batman. The color version, though, don't get me wrong, it's really nice. But I think what kind of pulled me away from buying that version of the action figure is that the color scheme. It's very, very muted. It's still done in the traditional Batman colors like we see here with the yellow utility belt, the gray bodysuit, and the lightish blue cowl and gloves and boots. But the color scheme, it's very desaturated and muted. The colors kind of lack that vibrancy that we see in other McFarlane figures. It's almost kind of like a very desaturated pastel look, which I didn't mind, but it's like at this point, I think I'd opt for the more true to form black and white version of the figure. So that's why I kind of went with this one. But either way, I think, if you're a Batman fan, either figure is going to be great. So much like the rest of the collector editions, we have the display base with the trading card, and the trading card's a very manga-esque inspired image. So I'm not sure if the Batman manga character is something that they're paying homage to in Japanese comics, or if this is some sort of alternate reality Batman that was introduced in the last few years. If you happen to be familiar with this very specific version of Batman, leave a comment down below. In addition to the card, you're getting a very large Batarang. You're getting his grappling hook with some rope, which is nice. This item here looks like it's a baton. I might be wrong. I'm not sure what this thing over here is. It almost looks like a spinning top or kind of like a dreidel looking thing. My first impression was maybe it's part of a zipline utility that's used in conjunction with this, but I could be wrong. Again, if you happen to know what this item is, leave a comment down below. And he features multiple hands, which is great because you can express the figure differently, give him different emotes, and it's just really cool they have those options. On the back, we have a reproduction of the image that we see on the trading card. Again, it's a very Japanese manga-esque like image, which is cool. Alright, so let's take this guy out and get started. Excuse my voice, it's a little raspy this morning. I don't know why. Alright, so pretty excited about this figure. So when I bought this figure, some of the other figures that were in this wave were also the Sergeant Rock figure, which I just reviewed yesterday. Excuse me, and there was also the Superboy Connor Kent figure, which I will be reviewing in the near future, hopefully when I have time. But I really want to do this Batman one. I think it looks great. Alright, so first impressions of the figure. It looks great. I love the color scheme a lot. Like I said, I'm a fan of manga comic books and Japanese artwork, especially if you've read, like stuff like Dragon Ball, One Piece, Akira, whatever. it's a lot of black and white artwork with some gray tones, so some duo tones. So it's a very monochromatic color scheme, which this action figure represents. The white's very pure. The black's, it's a very matte black. It's not glossy. And you'll notice there's some black trim along the boots and on the cuffs of the gloves. I love the Batman symbol. It's the ovalized one, and it looks great. They're kind of mimicking some feathering ink lines along the cowl above the forehead, which is cool. And much like Batman 66, his nose and eyebrows are kind of highlighted on the mask. Again, don't forget there's the not the trading card. There's the display base here, and the trading card and the stand. Alright, just give me a brief moment. I'm going to grab another action figure while I'm at it, so just bear with me. Alright, so as I'm handling this figure, I wasn't 100% sure if this is a completely new mold or if this is something that we've gotten before, because in all honesty, we've gotten so many Batman figures. And, there's been some mixing and matching with the pieces, and sometimes, they seamlessly go well together. And when I first started removing this figure from the box, my first impression was, this feels like the Nightfall figure. It's a much leaner, thinner build, and there's elements about here that just kind of feel familiar. And over here is the black variant suit of the Nightfall Batman, which I haven't reviewed yet. This came out a few months ago. And I'm just out of curiosity, I just want to see if there's any parts reuse. Yeah, it seems like you're seeing some parts reuse here. It looks like the legs might be the same, I think. The utility belt's definitely different. The chest piece, it looks like they might be the same. The thing that's different though is the bat emblem. They might feature different emblems, but as you can see, the wrinkles are almost identical on the chest. So it might be reused pieces, as possibly the arms also. And it looks like the cape might be the same. The head is definitely a new sculpt or a different sculpt. So yeah, this feels very much in line with the Nightfall Batman. So if you happen to have the original version of this with the blue cape and cowl, or the variant which we see here with the black and gray, you're going to be at home with this guy here because there is some parts reuse. And again, hopefully I'll have time in the near future to review this guy. Life's gotten busy for me, so I haven't had a chance to review some of these figures. I'm sitting on this backlog of like a bunch of figures. It's embarrassing. Alright, so let's get started with Bat-Manga, the manga-esque Batman. The head sculpt, it's really cool. I love the large eye lenses, and they're slightly higher on the head than you'd expect. It's a very cartoon comic book feel, which makes sense considering, the source material. Again, like I pointed out, the white, it's a very bright, saturated white, which is nice, and it contrasts awesome with the black. The black is nice and matte, so it's not too glossy. And let's see if we get his facial features a little bit better. The face is nicely sculpted. I love the chin. It protrudes outward nicely. He has a slight smile on his face. I love the utility belt. I'm a big fan of like the utilitarian design where it's just the pouches. I love the black trim along the cuffs of the gloves and on the buckle. His briefs, again, a matte black. And the folds and wrinkles on the bodysuit and the legs, they're nicely done. It's very subtle. It's not overstated. And then for the boots, the cowl, and the gloves, you'll notice it's kind of like a very light gray. So there's some contrast between the bodysuit and these pieces here. This one, he has the pointer finger attached. And don't forget there are the different hand options. And it features, I think, the same cape as Nightfall Batman. So it's a nice cape. It's a nice thin material. It's pretty pliable and bendable, not too heavy. And let's get this guy into focus. He doesn't want to agree with this. My camera is not agreeing with me this morning. There you go. That looks a lot better. Yeah, so I think it's a fantastic looking figure. I can imagine some people passing on this. For me, I bought it more so for the novelty, not necessarily because it was a chase figure. You know, I like the idea of a black and white Batman figure. If you remember, if you're a longtime viewer, you'll remember that I have reviewed some of the older DC Direct, DC Collectibles, Batman black and white action figures in the past, and this kind of feels at home in that collection. But yeah, it's a very eye-catching action figure. Size-wise, you know, he's a little bit smaller than some of the early McFarlane Batman figures. A lot smaller, actually. You'll remember that the figures we got maybe like close to 4 years ago were like huge, and the scale was always off. And it seems like over the maybe like 2 years, McFarlane's been trying to course correct that. So you do get a big height difference between the older figures versus the newer ones. Here's a Marvel Legends Vulcan. This almost looks like it'd be a good Robin next to this guy. Here's the Mattel Movie Masters Batman, or the Dark Knight Christian Bale. Here's the Diamond Select Gotham City Sean Pertwee Alfred figure. And let's not forget the articulation. His head moves, does look down. Not so much does he look up. Surprisingly, a little bit. I wasn't expecting that. His arms move. Like I said, if you have the Nightfall Batman, this is a figure that's going to feel very familiar to you. He has the bicep cut. The butterfly joint is kind of deeply embedded into the chest. I'm not sure if it offers that much more range of motion. Double jointed elbows, articulated wrists and hands. He has a cut mid-torso for that diaphragm. Kind of doesn't really crunch forward or arch. He does arch back, which is nice. So it can kind of recreate leaping poses. It kind of rocks side to side, but I think that's more so dependent on the ball joint at the waist. And speaking of the waist, there is a waist swivel. Mine's a little tight. The legs kick up. They kick outward, almost full splits. I kind of feel like it might be able to, but I don't want to force it. Double pinned knees and articulated ankles and toes. The toes is pretty extreme. So overall, I think it's a great figure. It's not perfect. Again, if you've handled the Nightfall figure, this might be a pass for you. But if you enjoy the novelty of what this Batman represents, you know, it's a very manga, anime-inspired version of Batman. I think it's worth getting. And for me, I just like the idea of the black and white figure just because I do have a collection of black and white Batman figures from some years ago. I mean, a collection's kind of small. It's about maybe like 5 figures. But nonetheless, you know, I think this has a small home on my shelf. Yeah, so overall, a great piece. If I had to rate this on a scale of 1 to 10, probably about, I would say maybe an 8 to an 8.5. The Nightfall figure, that's a beautiful figure. And, you know, if you have that one and you want more of the same, you know, definitely pick this one up. Especially if you have the original one and you have the variant. I think it'd be kind of cool to have all 3 of them next to each other. Okay, with that being said, let's wrap this one up. Once again, my name is Lou. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning viewer or subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support. I greatly appreciate it. So until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys, and most importantly, be happy. And I'll see you at the next one. All right, later.